Thanks for listening. This is Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid Podcast with your host, Pete Rogers. This podcast, number 2, and today we're going to discuss early season whitetail hunting tactics in the Midwest. This segment of the Off-Grid Podcast is brought to you by Hoyt.
I've seen the proof, I know the truth. This is what I was made to do. I was born for this.
Welcome to Off Grid with Ralph and Vicki, the podcast dedicated to archery, hunting, and living the outdoor lifestyle. I'm the host, Pete Rogers, and today's podcast, we're going to be discussing early season whitetail hunting in the Midwest, ag country.
Ooh, okay.
All right?
Wow.
So have we ever done it?
Ralph, where do you live?
Ag country, Midwest.
Illinois. Oh,
Where would I like to live?
no. We're
Like
talking,
Colorado
we're talking
or
whitetails
Oh, okay,
right
I'm
now.
sorry.
Whitetail hunting in the Midwest and
Yes,
ag country.
ag country.
Ag country. So
Early season.
early October, we're actually, say it's the beginning of season. Season in the Midwest typically opens around October 1st. So let's talk first about how to scout or prepare patterning deer for early season, and then we can kind of take it from there. So what would be some of the things that you would recommend to someone to get maybe to start finding deer, scouting, finding good places to set up?
Well, Pete, I think probably the first thing I would tell you for anybody to have a little bit more success than they normally have, and that is your season never ends. Your hunting aspect of it, shooting of the animals. However, you should be in the field as much as possible. And I'm not just talking come October 1st. Communicate with the landowners. Find out what those farmers are planning, for next year.
Yeah.
Know this because your crop rotation also can change the rotation of your movement.
Okay.
First and foremost, let's talk about one of the most important things two of the most important things that are overlooked. One, acorns. Man, we are in oak country, white oaks, black. You know what I mean? We have.
Oh, yeah, we have all kinds of different, and depending on the year and whether you get a lot of rain or not enough rain, it's going to depend on how that harvest is going to be, how those crops are going to fall.
Yep. And Vicki's nailing it. It is a crop. Mm-hmm. It is a crop for game.
Yes, it is.
and it literally could be the absolute best food plot you've ever sat on early season.
Is acorns.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Protein, calcium, it has everything. Yeah. And those big mature animals know that could put a lot more fat on them because they know what's coming up, in a pre-rut, post-rut situation. Okay. So that acorn crop is huge. Know it before October 1.
Well, here's a question that as somebody who's not from the Midwest, what type of acorns do you have here? Like at home, we have white oaks, red oaks, pin oaks, water oaks, and white oaks drop every year. Red oaks drop every other year, and then we have beech nuts that like every 5 years that they drop. So do y'all have the same kind of oak trees?
I don't think we have water oak.
No, I don't think we have water oak.
But we have red and pin and whites, and obviously the whites are obviously their favorite.
Right.
We can tell you that much.
Oh,
That's you can sit the two different trees and you're going to have more underneath the white oaks.
And let's talk, for a lot of people that may not even know. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know what an oak tree is. They don't know, they don't know what an elm, a walnut. Here's just a good walk through that land. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you're going to see all this scratching on the ground. Look up and get used to that leaf pattern, get used to that bark pattern, because the turkeys, the deer, the squirrels, any wildlife is going to tell you where they're feeding. Yeah. And that is a ticket. Now, if you don't have that, stand out there quietly and listen. And when those acorns are dropping, you're going to hear it. And these are just little tips that can get someone that's never done it before.
Right.
Get them to a location that is a consistent and very powerful draw
Okay.
For these mature for deer hunting.
Okay.
Let's just go for deer hunting.
Right.
Because a whole lot of people, they may not be trying to shoot a trophy.
Right.
They're trying to fill the freezer.
That's exactly
Right. And and you had made a comment, Ralph, about it being a year-long thing. It's you have your hunting season, but it's not just your hunting season, it's everything else. Late season here is a great time for us to find out where the deer are at and how they've been moving.
Sure, your patterns, your trails and everything are so prevalent.
Your is it the same way in South Carolina? Say all the leaves fall down, you can see the trails so much clearer.
Does it ever change in South Carolina?
I know we're talking
You don't have 4
Midwest,
seasons there, do you?
Not much. We have summer and Christmas.
Yeah, forget it.
That's pretty much it. It's just hot all the time.
No, we have everything. We have all seasons here in northwestern Illinois. And that is one of the benefits, though, hunting Midwest, is we do have the seasons.
Yep.
And it does help you throughout the whole year to see it if you have that ability to be here during that time, though.
Right.
And so now let's throw in, we've discussed the acorns, which to us is a huge thing. Early season, let's address another thing, water.
Yep.
A whole lot of people overlook thinking about water.
Yeah.
We got a creek, a mile down the road. If you could establish a small little water source on your 5 acres, because most people don't have 10, they don't have 100.
That's right.
I mean, that's so out of the realm.
Yeah.
So if you just have just a little access, if you could talk to that landowner and actually try to give a water source, especially that early season when we're dealing with temperatures that you guys are used to down south all the time.
Right.
We sometimes do get warm temperatures. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In those warm temperatures, what do the animals need?
They need water.
They need water.
They have to drink about 2.5 quarts a day, a deer does.
So here's what we got. You know what I mean? We just talked about 2 things in an area in the Midwest that is dealt with thousands and thousands of acres of ag. We didn't even talk about the ag.
Not yet.
No, we talked about acorns and water.
Well, let me ask you about the water. You talk about building or creating a small water source. What size and shape? Or does it matter the shape, but the size? Are you talking
anything we've ever found? It doesn't matter. Good example. You can turn around, walk through a piece of little timber, and all of a sudden it rains. Go back the next day, and you got deer tracks in a puddle that's 1 foot by 1 foot.
Right. Deer will find the water.
Right.
They will find it.
They're going to find the water.
And I'm sure you have too, or read stories about guys who take the little kiddie swimming pools and put those in the ground.
Absolutely.
And that's what is that like?
And why does that work?
Feet? Was that 5 feet by 1 feet or something like that?
Why does that work? Well, because they're putting a liner. Yeah. Because a lot of times if you just put a piece of plastic, the deer hoofs go in there, rip it, and all of a sudden all your water disperses into the ground.
Yeah.
So doing anything like that, a trough.
Right.
Go to a farm and fleet store. Go to a Tractor Supply. Buy a water trough that they would put out for your cattle. You'd be amazed. And if you don't believe me, set up a trail camera and see what happens.
So do you bring water to that trough and fill it up, or do you just let rain do it? Or
no, if especially, it really, Pete, it all depends on your moisture, what you have going on in that year.
Right now, if we had one out there, we would definitely not need to take the water out there. It would be overflowing from the amount of rain
you'd use that for floating down, you know what I mean?
And like you just said, we were talking about acorns, which is food, and now we're just talking about water. And I think one of the things that you'll hear us over and over and over multiple times throughout all the different podcasts when we're talking about game is food, cover, and water.
Yep.
Yeah.
3 main things that hardly anyone talks about.
So if you're using a trough as an example, would you bury it, or would you just leave it on top of the ground like you do cattle, or half and half? Or
I don't think it matters.
I think it matters. Okay.
As long as it's accessible, and honestly, I think it does. Let me take this back. Not the height or anything, but the more natural you could make it, I think the faster it will be accepted. Number 1.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean?
So you got a bright galvanized tank in the middle of the woods. Deer's not going to necessarily flock to it because it doesn't look natural.
Number 2 is learning your area. Instead of just hunting come October 1, never really stop hunting. You know what I mean? As far as scouting and everything and learning your area. Putting that water in a strategic spot. Just don't throw it anywhere. Know where they're bedding. Know where they're feeding.
Right.
Put it in an interception area that's favorable, and I want to stress that's favorable to the wind conditions that you normally have on that given time of year.
Right.
So we're using it just like we set up, you could set up a food plot for food source.
Right.
Then you set up a killing spot.
Right.
Knowing for the particular winds at that time of year.
Right.
Same thing with the water. If you can do it that way, I mean, let's face it, in the Midwest, you have drainages, you have ditches, you have irrigation, you have so many things there for them.
Right.
But up on a hill, where they're crossing this hill to get to their bedding to the to that north facing slope because it's warm, they want to come up over this hill. If I put that water up on that hill, I'm going to have activity there. And now I make it so it's easy for me to get in and get out without disturbing anything, without contaminating anything.
Right.
It will pay big dividends.
Yeah. That's a very good point about putting it on top of a hill instead of in the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes it easier too if you have to fill it up.
Oh yeah.
You can get to it without disturbing the deer with your quad or your machine in order to dump water in it. All right. So we've covered acorns, we've covered water. Cover. Vicki mentioned cover.
Yep.
So do you like to target bedding areas in early season? Do you like to target feeding areas or transition areas?
Transition.
So between bedding and feeding.
I really like to stay out of bedding.
Okay.
I think, we make a mistake where we infringe on a very, what we would call a sanctuary. Mm-hmm. And when you start adding pressure, see, one of the cool things with the early season is you're talking about having deer in a pattern of no panic, no stress. Mm-hmm. The only panic or stress was predators.
Right, and they're not rutting yet, so they're still kind of calm. They just got the velvet off their antlers. They're just feeding. They're just having a good time. They're hanging out with all the boys early season.
Yep, they're in their bachelor groups, and all of a sudden, you know what I mean? So what's nice is if you understand that first 10 days, or even more, if you can control the pressure. But again, a lot of people don't have a lot of land.
Right.
So, they got Tom, Dick, and Harry, hunt this farm, and then their cousins hunt it and everything else. So even though you did all your homework, you can't control the pressure coming in from the other guys.
That's right.
And once that pressure starts to hit, if you're searching for a mature animal, that pushes that animal further and further into those night hours,
right.
That nocturnal period.
Right.
But early season, you can pattern those bigger deer,
okay.
And you can see them, and you could sneak in and get opportunities at them. Mm-hmm. As long as you control the pressure.
Well, let me ask this. I think we were talking about this off, when we wasn't recording last night.
Off-grid.
We were talking about it off-grid.
Yes.
Exactly. And some people say early season they never hunt mornings because they're afraid of blowing the deer out. They only hunt the afternoons. Is that something that you'd recommend in this type of setting, or does it just depend on the conditions?
I think every situation's different.
Yeah, I was going to say, we do that late season.
Yes.
We don't want to push them because they're bedding really close to the food source come late season.
Right.
Because they don't want to exert the extra energy. They want to keep the weight on. Early season, I think it really depends on the situation. I mean, if we're getting great trail camera photos and we know we can get to a stand without bumping something, mm-hmm. and we're seeing good buck activity in the morning, then we're going to go ahead and try doing it if we have the right wind to get there.
Right.
That's the whole key, is you got to obviously play the wind and make sure you're not going to bump something. If we're hunting timber stands rather than...
Well, what we're going to focus on is we're not going to focus on food sources in the morning.
Right.
Okay.
Right. It's going to be more of a timber going back towards the bedding area.
Yeah.
Still, again, a transitional area again.
That's what we do.
Yeah, I want to be in that timber. I want to be in the transition area. Yeah. But we also have to be aware of our approach.
Right.
And this is where getting to know the landowners and the landowners around you. We've had tremendous success talking to a landowner saying, listen, would it be okay? Randy, for example, he allows us to park right by their house, their garage. And we walk in the backside, never infringe on all of our north and our west movement.
Right.
And we're using a neighbor's property. We have permission to get in there. And I'm telling you, night and day difference in success.
Well, access to stands is critical.
Yes. Yeah.
And we can do a whole podcast on just that. And we may at some point.
Yeah.
But back to the agriculture, hunting the ag fields. So in early season, are you hunting the edge of the fields in the afternoons? Because they're coming to the fields, or are you still in the timber?
No, it all depends, Pete. And a lot, like Vicki said, cameras, and There's some people that say you shouldn't use camera. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. I love cameras. Mm-hmm. We have what I call SSL, severe spy point linkage. Okay, because what it is.
Yeah, so we have our spy point cameras, and they're called spy point link. Basic, it's a cellular.
Goes to your phone.
Yeah.
We don't go crazy on it. We actually we don't.
What do you mean we don't go crazy?
We don't have
you are addicted just as much as I am.
We don't have them sent to our phone. They're sent to the app. We go online and we check the app for them, and we don't. It's not crazy. We don't have it instantaneously. We only
because I would
never get any work done. I'd be like, oh my God, there's another photo. There's another photo.
I think we need to be clear here, Pete. I'm addicted. Okay. Yeah. She is way addicted.
I love when you start getting deer activity and turkeys. Oh my gosh, we have so many turkeys. It drives me crazy. But
so when you open the app, it starts dumping in pictures.
You can go to your camera, whatever you named your camera. You know where your cameras are at. Yeah. You can start seeing what you have. They have a buck tracker app on there, so you can go ahead and press buck
just
tracker.
See bucks,
and it will just show buck photos instead
just
of
those
everything
or just turkeys.
else.
And they're working on if you want elk and everything else. They're working. It's super cool.
So it is cool, but it is an addiction. We'll be right back with more of Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid podcast with your host, Pete Rogers.
Welcome back to Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid podcast with your host, Pete Rogers.
But we joke about it as being an addiction.
Yes.
But at the same time, we put those cameras. Well, we put those cameras also in areas where we don't want to have to keep going in there and putting our scent.
Right.
So, I mean, there's some areas we don't have them out every single place. We have our regular spy point cameras out there where we have to go and exchange cards and stuff on them.
Right.
But some of those ones, like down on the bottom over there on that secret spot we can't talk about.
Don't say it.
Or the other secret spot. But, so the places where you are a little nervous about, you don't want to keep going in there until it's just right and the wind is perfect.
Yeah.
Those cameras are amazing for that.
And you don't have, on the camera real quick, you don't have trouble getting signals out or anything like that? Do you have to
it's gotten better.
Some of the areas where, it's gotten better, and they also have some antenna extenders.
They actually have a booster now.
Yeah.
But again, using those, definitely, what I love about it, we believe in the lunar. The moon phases. Okay. We do. And the activity peaks and when it doesn't. And if you really want to test that, you question it. See, in thick cover, like where we're at, you really can't judge it unless you're in the woods.
Right.
Out west or, in northwest where we're spotting and stalking, you could look at those times, and the next thing you know, you're going like, man, we haven't seen anything. It's 9:30 in the morning, and it's possibly showing your peak movement today is 10:45 to 1 p.m. Well, you sitting out there the whole day on a mountain, you could oversee everything. The next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, look it. There's there's caribou, there's elk, and you start to learn that there is truly something to it.
Okay.
I'm no scientist, no biologist, but it works.
Yeah.
Well, with our cameras, we also can do the same thing in thick cover.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden Vicki's like, "Hey, look at what were the peak movements today?" And then we compare it to the peak movements on the trail camera, and you're like, "Oh."
So you have the predicted peak movement, and then the photographs are saying
solidifying.
Oh wow, it's exactly the same time, or really close to it.
Or close to it.
And there really isn't much moving right now. I can just let you guys know.
Yeah. See, she's
checking the app now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm checking the app right now. I'm like, speaking of.
Well, it has been raining all day, and it's hot and humid.
It has been, and there's really nothing moving.
But here
they'll
again,
be moving in the morning,
and it's opening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is opening week,
right?
And we're trying to get things done, but we're also not pressuring when we shouldn't be.
Right.
If anybody could learn something from all of us, you, Vicki, and I, is yes, you want to hunt hard, but hunt smart.
Right.
Don't educate them in advance of trying to get in there. You know, if things aren't right, and there's a ton of people that they only have Saturday and Sundays to hunt.
Or just Saturday. A lot of states
Yeah,
still
you're right,
can't
you're
hunt on
right.
Sunday.
Yeah, you can hunt on Sunday.
You know,
In a lot of states you can't.
we're not telling you not to go. I mean,
Right.
go, because that's all you have.
Yeah.
But for
don't hunt
those,
your prime spot necessarily.
right, don't contaminate it. You know what I mean? And you know, I guess leading into Pete is again, we are not hunting deer that never smell a human.
Right, because you're in ag country. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you still have to control your scent because the closer you get to them, the stronger it is, and the more, and it lingers,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff.
In
so.
early season, it's usually warmer.
Yep.
I mean, this past week, we were 85, 86 degrees
Yeah.
for a couple of days.
Crazy.
Yeah, try scent control when you're
And
pouring
look at
sweat.
the
Yeah,
humidity.
right?
Well, you guys deal with it almost the whole
all
season.
the time. Yeah, yeah. I was running thermocells last year in December.
Yeah, we don't.
It was
No.
ridiculous
No.
how hot.
No thermostat.
I mean,
You know, but again, what do we deal with in the Midwest? Soybeans and corn.
okay.
And what does corn do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to go in. They're going to feed with the cobs on the stalk.
Yeah.
They don't knock it all down. That's how they feed it. You know, your raccoons will tear the stalks down and everything. But
So the deer will actually peel the shucks back, and then they'll go in there and
they'll
start
just
eating.
eat it. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But look what corn does. Food, tremendous cover,
Oh yeah.
and water. There's moisture sitting on all those leaves, and where the tractor went through, there's tracks, and that fills with water if you have condensation or if you have moisture.
Okay.
So now, why do they even have to leave standing corn?
So they'll just stay in the corn all the time. They'll bed down in
Have
there.
their
and
security.
they'll-
Like Vicki said, food, cover, water. They have it all on one thing.
I think the only time that we've actually seen it where the deer aren't so happy in the corn is that velvet.
Velvet.
Right? Yeah, in velvet because it will hit.
They don't want to tap
as
those
it's still
antlers.
growing.
it just irritates them.
It irritates them a little bit. Yeah.
And you know, for anyone that's ever been around deer, you know, like remember going to a deer park.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know where the tourists go and
Yeah.
and they're hand feeding the deer, and you got a deer in velvet and try to just touch the rack, and you'll watch what happens. You know
They don't
what I
want
mean?
anything touching it.
No, they
I
don't.
mean, nothing. It must be tender.
It has to be.
It must
It's a
be.
blood. I mean,
Yeah.
blood's pumping through its skin
Yeah.
at that moment.
Yeah.
I'd like to say it's hair, but you know, look at the top of my head. It don't grow much.
doesn't grow
So I must have
No.
lost my velvet and never come back.
Well, you've been rubbing the bushes too much.
Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
that's
That's
it.
what
I'm
it is.
scraping too. I'm scraping.
Scraping.
Yeah.
All right, so with the corn, you have standing corn and then harvested corn. Because when I was driving up here, I saw that every combine that can is out there just cutting everything right now. So,
Yeah.
so you have to have a different tactic if you're hunting standing corn than if you're hunting freshly harvested corn.
Well, Pete, you just brought up a really good point, and again, it goes back to communication. Talk to your farmers.
Okay.
Because your farmer will turn around. You call them up and say, listen, I'm heading out. You know, I got 2 days off of work. Or just say, hey, when are you going to take the corn out? When are you going to cut the beans? That's a magnet for game.
Actually, a great example of that is that, okay, so I don't remember, first year we had Dr. Chris out here.
Yeah.
We put Dr. Chris out on a piece of property we have down here. And our little piece of property has cornfield all the way around it, okay? It has 2 roads, it's right on a corner, and it's all cornfield. And we put him out there, and he sends me a text message, and he's like, I'm hearing a loud noise. He's thinking we put him in a gar
He's from
hole.
Alabama. He didn't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's thinking, he's like, what are you doing to me? I can hear a tractor running. And I text him back, I'm like, Chris, get ready. And he's like, he never replies back to me. And I'm thinking, he's probably thinking we stuck him in this gar hole because there's tractors out there.
Yeah.
I kid you not, the next text message I got within the next 5 minutes was, I just shot a buck.
A good buck.
A good buck. And I'm like, Ralph, and I'm like, are you jacking around with me?
Yeah,
Are you joking? And he's like, no. He goes, I got your text message and I heard noise and I looked and this buck came through and he shot it.
So the deer hear the tractors. They know there's going to be corn on the ground everywhere.
No, the deer
it
being
pushed the
pushed
deer
out of the corn
out of
because
the
the
corn.
combine's
Out of the
taken.
corn.
Now they'll
Yeah.
go right back in it.
They'll go back in until it's done, but you
Yeah.
know, and then they'll go and they'll feed around on the cut corn as well. But when they're in the corn and those combines are running, it's pushing the deer out of the
Pushes them
corn and
out.
into the timber. So
it's like a drive, but using the combine instead of people.
It is.
Yep.
It is.
You talk to any farmer, huh? You talk to any farmer, and they'll tell you stories of monster bucks standing at
Not
night
wanting to move.
as their combine and gets up, just goes 2 rows over and looks at them. And they're like, oh my gosh, look at the size of that deer.
And wait till they come back and he gets up and moves over again.
That's it.
Yeah. We see that with loggers at home. We have a large timber industry.
Oh, okay.
And you see that the deer are just moving around the skidders and the cutters and everything. They're not fleeing.
Right.
And as soon as they knock off for the day, you can see the deer pouring into the clear cut to see what kind of fresh browse there is.
Yep.
It's amazing. So
You just brought up something else, too.
Good.
farmers.
Yeah.
I did this test in the 80s. It bugged the snot out of me. It really did. I'd be like, I'd go with one of the landowners. We'd drive through on his truck. And the deer would just stand there. So I'd go back, you know what I mean? And he just showed me where I should go. I come in, I got my, I get in my truck, I go down the same road. The deer, all I see are tails flying in everywhere. And all I was going is, I was going to go hang on my stands and my sets, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like...
But they stood there for the farmer's truck.
Because they're used to the white truck, not used to the black.
Exactly.
Animals get acclimated to certain things that happen on a regular basis.
Yeah.
If it's
Very
a diesel
quickly.
truck rather than a gas truck, I mean, there's a lot of things that just...
They get acclimated very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, there was a few years ago, early season down in Pike. We were hunting down there with Ted, and there was this big buck Ralph was after, and it almost worked.
It did.
It almost worked. We ended up, the tractor would go by, and that deer would lay there bedded. If you drove by it, it'd
On a
get up
small
and leave.
finger. All
On
the
a
time.
little finger that you could see through, this little itty bitty finger of timber and cornfields on both sides. Well, I think one side was a bean field.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got set up. He went out there on the combine to get to his tree stand.
180
Almost
inch buck.
happened.
Yep.
Almost happened, but
I got in there undetected. Everything's going good. I'm glassing him. He's about 100 yards or so. Finally gets up, stretches, and we're thinking that, he's going to come up. Instead, he just went the other way, but he had no clue.
Yeah.
We
Run out of there. Yep.
we utilized it. And the other thing, Pete, is, and you guys, I know you see it as well, is, if you're hunting a piece of property and the only time that you bring your four-wheeler in is opening day,
Yeah, you're going to spook them.
that's it.
You're going to spook them.
Spend some time. Go in there if you can every other month. If you're driving a four-wheeler, if you're walking, whatever you're doing. But try to match the activity that you're going to have that same activity come hunting season.
so they get acclimated
You'll
to
be
it.
surprised how that'll pay dividends.
Yeah, they'll see it and hear it, and he's not after me.
It's no
He's
threat.
just riding down the road.
Right, yeah.
And then next time you do it, and then next time you drop. Well, as a matter of fact, a place I hunt with sometime, Blackwater Hunting Services in South Carolina. He's been doing this for 20 years. He drives his hunters directly to the base of the ladder stand.
Yep.
They climb up. He drives right down the lane you're going to be hunting. And he said the deer have gotten so used to them driving those roads all the time. And his phrase is, deer can't count.
Right.
They don't know they let somebody off.
Yeah,
I agree.
You're
So,
right.
and so
Absolutely.
a lot of times the truck, as soon as it gets out of sight, he hears a gunshot, turns right back around, comes and gets them. So
Yep.
yeah, they do. They get very, they can be trained to that. Yeah, acclimated is the best word.
Yep.
So
And one of our big favorite things, and it's been it for as long as I could remember, is our earth scent.
Yeah.
Our scent away earth scent, just because no matter where we've ever been, anywhere on the globe, when you pick up dirt, it smells like one thing.
it smells like dirt.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That smell has always been a favorite of ours.
Yeah.
Now, does it mask your odor? No, it's not. Nothing masks your odor completely.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are other things that you can use. If they got cattle, cow pies.
I did that for years.
The first time I went hunting with him, he did that. He sprayed me down with a bucket full of cow pies saturated in water.
It was diluted. Come on now. It wasn't that bad.
We just walk to the stand and step in them, and then you just carry
Right.
them.
No, I would take
No, he
dried
would make
chips
a spray bottle
and I
of
put
it.
them in a 5-gallon bucket. and add water, and I would just let it dissolve.
Yeah,
and then I put it in little spray bottles. And I'm going to tell you something. It works.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
stink like poop, but
leave your
deer used to smell
in the barn.
Yeah. If you're around cattle,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, but there are certain things that really can help you to be more successful. You know what I mean?
And some of them are very simple like that.
Yes.
Some of them are very simple like that.
Yeah.
It's but if you're hunting in an orange grove, don't wear apple scent.
there you go. See, there you
kind
go.
of the same thing. It's kind of the same thing.
I can also give you another great tip that my husband once did to me as well. As we were hunting in a ground blind.
Oh boy, I know where this is going.
And he thought it would be a great idea for a cover scent of raccoon urine.
Yes.
Right? It was raccoon urine.
Yes, it was.
Inside the ground blind.
Well, no, now wait.
It's a little strong, isn't it?
No, but the reason I did, the wind started swirling.
Horrible.
Pete, come on now, you got to help me here.
No.
The wind started swirling, and I tried to avoid being detected.
Right.
So I just grabbed it, and I sprayed up on top and by the window.
We're sitting
of our Mare Step ground blind.
The blind.
It was
effective.
Oh,
it affected us.
It was like seriously to the point where I thought we were going to throw up.
I was going to. We were gagging.
I was like, don't you ever do that again.
A little too much of it.
Ever do that again.
Yeah, well, I think I sort of overdo things.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Definitely overdone the coon poop.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Okay, so let's go to cut corn.
Yep.
Once the corn has been cut, do you sit on the edge of the corn because the deer are coming out there to feed on all the residue that gets left behind, which is quite a bit actually.
Yeah, it can be.
Oh yeah, depending how they adjust that combine, buddy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's always going to be food source on the ground until they turn it over.
Right.
Once they turn it over, you could pretty much count that field dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can. We'll be right back with more of Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid Podcast.
Spy Point Link Series. Connected to your passion.
Welcome back to Ralph and Vicki's Off-Grid Podcast with your host, Pete Rogers. But when you're hunting those, there's a few different ways. One, don't infringe on the bedding area.
Okay.
You can hunt the timber. Maybe trying to get a buck that you've got on camera that's pretty nocturnal. You're trying to find out where he's coming from, so you keep moving further and further, but you don't want to infringe on that bedding area.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think there's a medium there that we just try to follow.
Yeah.
Two, you're going to have a staging area.
Right.
The staging area is like if you could take a visual. Like we use our drones, and you'll go up, and all of a sudden you can find it looks like a wagon wheel of trails.
Right.
Comes into a point, could be 10 yards off the field edge, could be 50. But if they have the availability of seeing that area, that food source, that that cut cornfield or that cut bean field, or the standing beans, they stage here, and a lot of your deer will come here, communicate. The does, the yearlings, the small bucks will go out, and then your bigger bucks will stay there till dark, till they feel a little more secure. Mm-hmm. So setting up on a staging area, which is closer to the fringe, to the end. And then there is hunting, you know what I mean, is hunting the edge, where you're going to get a lot of scraping.
Yeah.
May not really be the deer you're looking for, you know what I mean? And it's going to probably be a fair amount of young deer, but also nocturnal. Your bigger bucks may be scraping in those fields at night.
Right.
Or you establish, a scrape tree.
Right.
You can put trees in, you know what I mean, and get them to do those types of things.
Right. Right.
A lot of that, it takes patience. And you have to be there, and you have to, learn it.
So how far is the staging area from the edge of the field?
It all depends, sir. Like if it's on a ridge, it could be further away because they can actually see it and set check it prior to, you know what I mean? If it's in real thick cover and there's thick cover leading up to the field.
Come right to the edge.
Yes, sir. Yep, you'll have them closer. Now, these are just things that we've learned. We're no experts.
Well, that's things I've noticed at home. In the thick woods, the staging areas will be 15 to 30 yards from the edge of the field.
Yep.
Right.
If it happens to be open, it could be 50 to 60
Further,
yards, but it's not much more than that because they just can't see through the foliage and stuff, you know. And so it's very similar here. So, all right, now let's talk about soybeans. All right, so they're cutting soybeans now as well.
Right.
Standing beans, obviously, that's going to be good through the whole season.
Right.
But most farmers don't leave their beans standing that long.
Phenomenal for late season.
If they're still standing.
If
there's anything left on them.
Yep. If you can talk to a landowner or a farmer, or you can actually purchase half an acre of his standing his beans and leave them standing for late season.
I'll give you market value for this. Just don't harvest it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You know, now the only thing I don't even think we touched on, and that is actually setting up your ground blinds in the corn.
No, we haven't talked about that.
You know what I mean?
So partially cut
early
field.
season it would work.
Cut part of it, and always keep the blind, keep the setup, keep the standing corn in your favor for the wind conditions.
Okay. Yeah.
But as you start to chop that corn down, the farmer comes in and takes it. If you can keep that blind close and keep moving it, all you're doing is giving you a better opportunity. Using the standing corn for your concealment with your ground blind.
Right.
And you take some time. I mean, probably one of the best, Don and Candy, Kiskies. I mean, when he's done with a blind, you can't tell.
You can't see it
You
at all.
would, no, you would think it was just the cornfield.
It looks like rows of corn.
He brushes it in.
There's an art to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, you got to give credit.
I suck at that. I'm just terrible at it.
Oh, do you? I love it.
I try, but I'm just not, because everything that we cut at home dies as soon as you put it on there.
Well, yeah.
But you're waiting for the corn to be dead anyway. So.
Yeah, well, we don't have those kind of corn.
No,
fields.
you don't have it.
People that plant corn at home, they cut it green for silage for their cows.
Oh, no. See, all of our, you probably saw that driving around here.
They have summer, and then they have Christmas.
That's right. I forgot. What was I thinking?
No. Yeah.
You probably can't set it up in the, okay.
So again, you know what I mean? And the other thing we're seeing a lot of, and I don't want to, but is happening more often. And just like when we take you out here, okay, you're going to see a cut bean field and you're going to go, oh my gosh, they replanted. And it's just sprouts of beans already coming back up since
it was
they
cut.
took it, but because they took it, because a lot of it was wet, and so a lot of the pods went back into the ground. So it's growing. However, here's a good example. Tonight, we're probably going to have our first frost.
Right.
So that none of that is going to be an attractant. It's going to be dead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do.
But if it wasn't, there again, you would have another, food source.
Right.
And it's just volunteer beans is what it is.
Yeah.
Just like volunteer wheat, alfalfa, whatever.
And if it wasn't volunteer, if it hadn't sprouted, it'd be just residue from the harvesting, and they'd be out there eating that.
Yep.
Yeah. From a nutrition standpoint, Kip Adams, the QDMA, was telling me this recently, that the husk of soybeans has more protein than a white oak acorn.
Wow.
So that's one thing.
The husk
of the soybean, not the bean itself.
Yep.
So that's why, the standing beans is so important to the deer in late season, because they're getting so much extra protein from the bean and from the husk. The pod itself has more protein in it than does a white oak acorn. So that's a very, very
But I
valuable
bet
food
you it's
source.
not as sweet.
That's surely not. It can't be nearly as tasty.
And that's probably the big draw, for them is like, ooh, baby.
Yeah.
It's like Vicki and her coffee.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
It's gonna happen.
It's gotta happen. It's not gonna. It's gotta.
Okay, so we've covered cover, water, standing corn, cut corn, beans, and we're still focused on early season.
Right.
So let's say that you're still in an ag area, but it's a larger wood lot than normal. or
Not just fingers.
not just fingers, but it's and what would that be here? Maybe 10 acres, 15 acres of woods?
Well, it all depends. If you go a little east, you could run into hundreds of acres of timber. You know what I mean? Ohio, for example, and you could go down south. And national forest.
Yep.
I mean, so I don't know if we could pinpoint.
You're really going to go back to the Acorns then.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to go check your ridges. Leading to your food sources, and find your acorn crop in the early season.
Right.
And then also understand that, where they're going to bed. If it's super warm out, where are they going to be? North-facing slopes. They're going to, They want to be where it's the coolest. Right. And for a lot of people, compasses, your phone has a compass. Yeah. If you have any questions, utilize some of this technology. Every time I'm setting up a new set, I have my phone on my compass and I'm looking and I'm trying to, and I'll tell everybody, okay, guys, look we could hunt this with a west wind. We could hunt this with a north. We could even get away with a south, maybe even a southwest, but anything east we can't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do the same thing.
But it also, we know where the deer are coming from and where they want to go. And if you're hunting a food plot, you're bringing them to you. Yeah. But you better know where they're coming from.
Right. And then have your stand set up accordingly. Yeah. Which is another good point in this early season is walk us through your process of how you go selecting the right tree. Because you're bow hunting and you're trying to get within, we'll say 30 yards. Right. As an example. So if you've determined where the bucks are bedding, you've determined where they're feeding. How do you go about finding, because I know for me personally, it's like the big challenge of finding the right tree. Not an acceptable tree, the tree. And I'll stand there sometimes 45 minutes walking around looking at him. Looks like he's going to come through here. So that's not right. That one's not right. Okay, this is it. This is the one I need to be in. And the stand needs to be facing exactly this angle. It needs to be 163 degrees
Eliminate
northeast.
what movement you don't have to make. Right. You don't have to shift. You don't have to turn. Am I just
being anal with that, or is that something that...
No, that sounds like Ralph out in the woods, 100%. We know where they're bedding, we know where their food source is at, and Ralph's like, we need to find a tree in here. Sometimes it's more like he sees a tree and goes, that's it. He doesn't have to think twice about it. Nothing else. It. More than likely, he walks around and goes, I don't know, maybe, and then he usually the tree he wants the stand in is the most crazy tree, and we're just gonna have to climb around that limb. And
I look at cover availability.
Yeah, he's not looking.
We've got everything we're doing is 2 people.
Yeah. Right, so we got to make sure there's enough to cover the hunter and the camera person, any kind of movement. Yeah.
So now the other thing too that I started doing a while back, and that is, I'll create them. When I say that, I'm a big fan. As we get older, hang-ons. They're not as comfortable as a well-made ladder stand.
Not nearly as comfortable.
Or a dang ground blind.
Not nearly as comfortable.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
So we like using a lot of our ladder stands. Mm-hmm. We put the camera guy on a hang-on right and back.
Okay. So we hang the camera guy. They don't matter. Yeah. As long as we're comfortable.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They hear this.
They're gonna hear this podcast. They're gonna be like, "Really, Vicki? That's what you're thinking?"
But they climb up the ladder to get into it.
They do.
Yep.
So we're nice enough to let them use.
And they're all attached. You know what I mean? They got their lifelines. We got everything. Everything's set up that way. Yep. But the other thing too, it affords us to brush in. So I'll go grab some oak limbs with leaves because they're going to stay on there longer. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I take wire, or I take this. Do you ever see you could buy a little pack of this rubber insulated wire? Yeah. So it's quiet. Yeah. You could use rope. You know what I mean? But the wire is just easier, especially if it's one person. You're holding it, and you could just hurry up and wrap it. You don't have to let go and try to tie it. But I'll create foliage.
So you put that on the ladder stand itself?
On the ladder stand or on limbs overhanging. If I look at a setup and I know, okay, we want to face, this is going to be for the evening. The sun's going to be coming down on us. I'll cut a nice limb and I'll lash it in to create shadow on us.
Okay.
So, and you'll see some of these. You know what I mean? I brush them in. I like that.
I use artificial Christmas trees.
Yep. Well, we've
Been doing those for years.
Yep.
Get them in yard sales for $5.
Yep.
The limbs are very pliable and they'll last for years
Yep.
before they start to fade. And I just take them and wrap them around the limbs and do them all up and stuff. So it's the
So we
same
need to hide
concept.
this before you leave. So you
Yeah,
don't
Yeah,
take
probably
our-
take that tree.
That'll be
Take this
bare.
tree.
It'll be just a trunk.
He'll start taking the pieces off of it.
Yeah, but I've been doing that. It's in a couple of my ground blinds. I re-erect the entire tree. Just anchor it down in the ground and just reassemble the whole artificial Christmas. I take the lights
that's
off.
the fun part of it.
Take the lights off.
And the icicles. I take those off too.
good.
Yeah.
You take the star off. Normally you have the stars.
Oh, I leave the angel though.
Do you leave the
Okay.
angel?
I do leave the
That's
angel.
Because I think you really do need the angel over there.
I need every help I
So
can
do
get,
we,
buddy.
buddy. I do. Vicky, she's, but
I need
me, I
all
need
the
it.
help I can get. All right. So, is there anything else you can think of you want to add to early season?
I think the only other thing is in the majority of wherever you're hunting, especially in the Midwest, you're going to deal with warmer temperatures.
Yeah.
Dress accordingly. And the other thing, don't forget, and that's ticks.
Okay.
And be prepared for that warm water. Those ticks are carrying miserable diseases.
Yeah.
And I mean, pay attention to that. What's the...
Oh,
No, but-
what is it called? What's the yellow bottle of tick spray? Perithium, permeth.
Yeah.
Yep. We better put that up.
Promethean.
Promethean.
Right?
Promethean.
Promethean. Spray your clothes down ahead
I
of
thought
time.
that was a
Let
Greek
it air
god or
out.
something like that.
No.
Oh, okay, I was
wrong.
close.
Wrong one. But, let it air back out,
Yep.
and go
Yeah.
ahead and go
And your
out,
clothes are
because
good for a long time with that.
Yeah. And the one other thing though is early season hunting. It doesn't matter, and it's all season by you. It's just make sure that if you are successful in filling a tag, to take care of the meat
Yes.
as quick as
As
possible,
quickly as
because you
possible.
don't want to waste.
No.
If deer meat's not what you like, you just enjoy going out there and help managing game. That's awesome. But make sure that there's someone that would take that meat,
Right.
because there's
Right.
a lot of people, a lot of families out there that need that food. They need that protein,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that, as a giving back, is what we should do. Just make sure you don't.
Most states and most states have a Hunters for the Hungry program.
Right.
Where you can donate it, and processors will process it for free as long as it's donated.
Yep.
At home, you have more time than you think you do, but you don't have a lot of time to get that meat to cool down. You don't have a lot of time. So, field dress, get in the cooler, get it skinned, whatever you need to do. Get your pictures. Make sure that you can remember that, but then try to get that deer taken care of as quickly as possible.
And Pete, on closing with the pictures, take your time. Pay respect to that animal. Pay respect to the lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Don't have the tongue hanging out. Don't have the arrow in it. You know what I mean? Clean it up.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for you and your family.
Yeah.
But have respect for it. We've seen so many that...
Yeah. And that's a good point, because when you go back 4, 5, 10, 15 years later, looking back through the pictures, you don't enjoy the picture as much if his tongue's hanging out, or you got a shot of the entry hole as opposed to the whole animal in a more dignified way.
Yes.
It just, at the moment it may seem kind of rah-rah, but when you go back later and look at it, or you're showing it to somebody, you don't get the reaction that you're hoping to get unless it's just a really nice looking picture. And it's not hard to do.
No, it's not.
It's not hard to do.
And the other thing, having friends that are game wardens, we have learned a lot, huh?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, today's especially, so many people are caught up in doing that selfie or doing that thing, with the animal they just shot. Make sure you've done everything legal. If that deer is sitting on the back of a pickup truck bed and it's not tagged, and your state requires you to tag it before moving the carcass, you take that photo and you put that on some social media site, you just put evidence that you did something wrong.
Right.
Even if you have a tag in your pocket,
Yes.
you just happen to not put it on it. Just beware of things. That's all.
Yeah, just a little bit of care.
Caution.
Yes.
That's all.
Caution.
Yep.
Take your time. Don't get in the heat of the moment and all that kind of stuff. I did think of one last thing on the early season hunting, and that is access to your stand. I know at home, because we have so many oaks, the leaves are so loud and all that kind of stuff. I've learned that if I can't get to the stand quietly without spooking deer, there's no reason to hunt in there. So is that something that you would recommend here too, is just really be careful about your access and making sure you can get there and out, in the evenings?
She's going to laugh at me because if you look at my mower blades,
They're destroyed.
I actually try to mow most of our trails.
So I use a backpack blower and blow all the leaves out of the way.
Okay.
I've been doing that for 20 years.
So it's as quiet as possible to get in it. Because if we are walking, depending on what we're doing, if you're walking across or through, on the edge of a field, but you're in the timber, and let's just say you don't have access of coming in on the backside, but you want to hunt. What you want to do is you want to make sure you clean that trail,
right?
So you can sneak in there quietly. If all of a sudden you hear deer and maybe a deer starts snorting, and it's pitch black, I'm challenging people to try something. Stop walking heel to toe.
Yeah.
Walk on your tippy toes. Walk about 5-10 steps. Stop. You will be amazed at how those deer they'll just relax.
Totally calm down.
Because the only thing that walks heel to toe is man.
That's right.
And they hear that noise and they associate that.
That's right.
But if you all of a sudden just start walking instead of you'll be amazed at the difference.
He put his own sound effects in. Did you get that? Because on a podcast, you're not necessarily going to see him making these walking movements.
No.
But just audio, you guys can hear.
That's right.
He's helping out. We don't have to take that to like a sound room or anything like that.
How about
to
this
add
one?
those effects. Yeah, we've heard that before.
We've heard that a few times.
We've heard that quite a few times.
Whitetail
There's usually a
flip-flop.
white flag going around beyond us.
If you haven't hunted, then you haven't
That's
been where
right.
the deer are.
That's
If you ain't got busted, you ain't bowling.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up as far as early season deer hunting tactics in the Midwest ag country.
Amen.
Right?
Yep.
So,
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening to Off Grid with Ralph and Vicki. And I'm your host, Pete Rogers.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. We hope you come back again for more of Ralph and Vicki's Off Grid Podcast with your host, Pete Rogers.